Hello, everybody. So today I'm going to be doing a reaction video to Siege X and the new changes that they're making to the game. Just going to put it out there right now. I am not like a professional player at all when it comes to Siege, so keep that in mind. I have actually watched part of this video already, and there was one thing that stood out to me particular that kind of left me worried about the future of the game. Like, I'm not a hardcore player. I've had this game since almost since it came out, essentially. I think pretty close to when it first released. Obviously, the game has gone through a lot of changes since that point. Many of them controversial. A lot of the player base disagrees with a lot of them, of course. And there's just some things from this video that I had heard that kind of stood out to me that were, at least to me, a little bit concerning. Now, I'm just a casual player. I'm not like a professional once again, so just keep that in mind. And I think in some ways that's probably a good thing because, like you have a lot of games, for example, where the competitive scene kind of dictates how the game should be played, and most of the player base ends up feeling alienated because of it. Because a lot of the changes, of course, they make specifically for the more competitive side of the game rather than for a more, I guess, fun experience. So just keep that in mind. And this is coming from someone also who has played the older Rainbow Six games, of course. I used to religiously play Rainbow Six Vegas 2 all of the time. Literally, I was playing that game up till probably about 2 years ago. Is when I finally kind of stopped playing it completely. And I believe also the community kind of died on the PlayStation, but I don't even have a PlayStation anymore. That's kind of functional, at least. So I haven't been able to really play it, besides with my brother on the Xbox 360. So, yeah, like, I'm going to be honest, though, this was not one of my favorite Siege games ever. There's a lot of things from the older games that I kind of wish they had kept. One of them being, for example, was Terrorist Hunt. I did not like how they went about doing it in this game. And of course, ultimately, they ended up removing it entirely from the game, which I know a lot of people were upset about, but of course, it wasn't like a major player in this game to begin with, because there's not really a storyline or anything like that. And that game mode, from what I remember, was pretty bare bones. I only ever played it like twice, and it was definitely not the same as the older games. It was not as enjoyable or interesting to me. And of course, there's a lot of players that did say that they, even on the professional scene, that they preferred doing that for a warm up. I think for a match than playing against other players in quick match or something, or against what they have now, which I guess is like a regular match just with bots in the lobby instead. So. I'm just going to get some water before I start this. Sorry. So, just keep all that in mind. So, I guess we'll start the video now.
What is up, bros? So I got to play Siege X early, and I'm gonna cover all of the content coming, like the modernized maps that have new environmental destruction like fire extinguishers, pipes that you can pop holes in and cause to explode, and even interactive metal detectors. Gonna be going over the new permanent 6v6 game mode that has its own exclusive map and gameplay, such as mixing attackers and defender abilities. They have a new overhauled audio system, improved rappel controls that allows you to sprint on freaking walls and jump around corners. There's new skin updates, new skin drops, and new weapon inspect, plus a ton more of new Siege X stuff. So let's get into it, starting with the new environmental visuals and new destruction in the maps. As you can guess, there's quite a lot to cover, so I'm actually going to be leaving timestamps down below just in case you want to watch just a specific category and then come back to the video later on. I'll have that laid out, so if you want to watch just like the 6v6 game mode or modernized maps, that's going to be down below. So Siege has been out for 10 years now, and it has truly established itself as a reference for a tactical PvP shooter, and Ubisoft is fully aware of this, and they are going to be going absolutely ham in order to keep this game going. So in June of this year, 2025, the game is entering its new era with Siege X, which Ubisoft describes as the biggest and most transformative evolution in its history, and from what I've seen so far, it's true. Siege X is bringing new visual enhancements to Siege maps with everything from new lighting, yes, I'm already plotting entirely new hiding spots, new 4K textures, and even new shadows on maps and on your operator model live as you play.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there, first of all. I know a lot of people, when the game originally was coming out, actually had a massive preference for the graphics that they were showing, at least in the trailer and such, where it was very dark, very gritty. It looked really, really good at the time. I mean, I still think it looks really, really good in comparison to what we have now. And, there's always something that kind of bothers me when games go about doing this kind of stuff. I mean, even Fortnite kind of went about doing that. They updated the graphics and such. Because coming from someone who used to play a lot of games exclusively on a potato computer, when I see games go about making these massive upgrades to the graphics and things like that, or changing how the game runs completely, it causes, of course, a lot of incompatibility issues on older hardware. So already I know when you look into the Siege community, you see people complaining about the current state of things, and we haven't even started yet with all of the massive changes fully, right? Like they haven't even been fully implemented as of yet. And I believe, what is it? They got rid of DX11, right, recently. So now we have 12, and already there's a lot of players saying that, from what I've read, that the game is not running well at all for them, and it's very hard on their computers for whatever reason. And even my brother, for example, he plays on the PlayStation, and after they've made that change, now he's struggling with constant issues of the game overheating his console. Like he cannot even play more than one match before the game completely overheats, and he has to turn off his PlayStation 5. Of course, you could just say that's an issue with consoles, of course, but you understand the point is that it's gonna take away when games go about doing this a lot of the player base, because a lot of people um, are kind of forced to run on lower end systems, and the way the economy is right now, like I would not expect people to go out and buy like the most latest hardware and stuff like that and just build like an extremely expensive gaming computer. In fact, I was planning on building another computer recently, a more compact one, just so I could travel way more conveniently without having to worry about my current computer. And it was gonna be it was gonna be like $1,000 or something to get everything that I had wanted, and that's even if I use some of the parts I already have, which to me was insane. And I'm in Canada, of course, so just keep that in mind. Like the prices are not the same, of course, as the United States, because the United States it seems like a lot of that stuff is way cheaper there. But in Canada, like the prices are insane, at least from what I've seen for the most part. I know a lot of people will say just buy used parts and stuff and get a massive discount, but I'll be honest, I just don't trust that stuff. And a lot of the time I see people selling used stuff to begin with, it just looks really like in really bad condition for the most part. So I wouldn't trust it. So yeah, like the first thing already, I don't know if I'm a big fan with all of the changes they're making to the graphics, because I can just see already that's going to cause a lot of problems for players. And I've pointed this out before, and a lot of the most popular and successful games, like good examples would be Stardew Valley, which in fact my brother has now been playing because he's unable to play Siege with us anymore, because it just keeps crashing. Yeah, one of the most successful games, in my opinion, of all time. Like the reviews, the ratings, everybody agrees that's one of the best games ever that's actually played it. What about that game makes it so popular? It's the fact that it's incredibly easy for the majority of people to run it, because you do not need insane hardware to play that type of game. It is very easy on you know computers, consoles, everything to run, and it's so easy. You have it on phones, you have it on, yeah, I guess everything really at this point. It's one of those types of games. I know, of course, like nowadays we're getting more advanced handheld consoles and things like that, or devices, whatever you want to call it, where you can actually play more advanced games on them. But most people are not going to go out and buy those things, or even want to like do that out in public to begin with. For the most part, like it just doesn't make sense, at least to me. So you have Stardew Valley, very very low end game to run on most systems, incredibly popular, did massive numbers. Another very very popular game also with very very low end graphics that was incredibly successful, Minecraft. Anyone can virtually play that game on anything, you know. And even another game like Fortnite, like these games are not massively intense when it comes to graphics. Fortnite though nowadays, of course, like with all of the upgrades they've made, the game does not run as well as it used to. And that's kind of what I mean, because I know, for example, my nephews who I used to play Fortnite with all the time, they say they can't even play the game anymore on their computers, and they have better computers than me, because they just have a lot of issues with it. And I know even myself, actually, the last time I was playing it, there's some sort of weird memory leak now on the game, because whenever I play it for more than like 10 minutes, the game is an unplayable mess. But that's the thing, like when you change the graphics and all of this stuff in the game, you're just kind of throwing into the mess more issues, and also at the same time you're going to be eliminating a lot of the player base. So I don't necessarily think that these graphics changes were necessary. I think they could have changed the overall the color or the lighting situation. I think that would have been fine, but not actually enhancing the graphics. Like I know a lot of people, of course, don't even use the 4K graphics, of course, because it just takes up an insane amount of space to even have that. But yeah, I don't think this is necessarily the greatest thing ever. I think games that are more simplistic in a lot of ways are just better when it comes to graphics. That's just kind of how I see it. So anyway, let's continue.
In the current build, if you don't use your shadow settings on at least medium, you should, because it allows you to see other players' shadows, but it still doesn't allow you to see your own. I noticed while playing that I could actually see my own shadow in Siege X. It's a big deal because one of the metas in current R6 is to make sure you have those shadow settings on medium to allow you to see certain areas that could allow you to pre-fire certain spots early. Being able to see your own shadows is not only going to help us be aware of those spots that we know about, but also discover new areas for shadow strats and overall deepen the way that we place certain spots. While we weren't able to record our own footage while playtesting, in the video pack that Ubisoft gave me, I found this spot here and then I jumped on the current Siege version to show you this comparison. When Siege X launches, there's going to be 5 modernized maps to start, and if you didn't figure this out already, on the current build, there are certain maps that have X's all over them. It's going to be Chalet, Bank, Cafe, Clubhouse, and Border. And after that, each season's going to introduce 3 more. Getting into the first destructible environmental item is going to be fire extinguishers, and not only are they going to pop when you shoot, which provides a smoke-like cover, but if you time destroying them when an operator is next to them, they also get a new type of stun effect, which is almost like a new pre-placed trap around maps for both sides to use. This can get crazy in depth because ops like Glaz and Warden still apply to these, where they will be able to see through it. So it actually adds so many different scenarios and possibilities that you can get yourself into. You will be able to destroy these on both sides, such as having a Maestro cam, or you could send a Twitch drone in early and take them out. I really do look at it like it's pre-placed utility, but for both sides to have opportunities to use. If you find an opening, you could theoretically shoot a fire extinguisher to stun a defender and use it to get the opening pick. So defenders are going to have to actually pick and choose where they are anchoring, or maybe they're going to want to clear that in the prep phase. There's so many ways to go about it. But yeah, that's just the explanation for the first environmental edition. We still have metal detectors and pipes to get into. Metal detectors are now fully destructible, so when you're attacking or flanking, you're not going to be spammed by them and get your position given away.
All right, I'm just going to continue here and say that this is a change I really, really massively agree with. I still wish that they kept the same level of destruction that they had originally in the game, but I understand also why they had to kind of eliminate that level of it, because for example, a lot of maps and such, it would make it very, very difficult for the attackers. Like people have pointed out, they had to add in the beams and such, or whatever, the metal beams on the second floors of buildings and such. Because, for example, if you were on certain maps to go and plant on the site or something like that, the defenders could theoretically destroy the entire floor, right? And you wouldn't even be able to plant up there. Now, yeah, I can see why that would be an issue, of course. I mean, they could have done technically some other things to remedy that issue, but I at the same time I kind of do wish they kept it. Like maybe just make the room more solid where the bomb site is than anything else. But yeah, I think this is overall a really good change to the game. But I do still wish it was more like the original trailer that we had seen, as I'm sure most players do. But I understand why, from a game developer point of view, they had to change that. And destroying the metal detectors too is going to be huge because that has always been something that's bothered me. I never understood why that was not a thing to begin with, because it's just very, very annoying when you're attacking or even defending, having to walk through those things. So that I agree with for the most part.
You can destroy them in all of the usual ways, so that may be loud and the other team may assume that you are there if they hear you break them, but I'm kind of thinking that destroying them will be pretty standard among ranked as you attack, so you are going to also need to be careful because that could give an opportunity to defenders to hit better flanks without attackers knowing about it. In Siege X, you're also going to find destructible pipes that have multiple layers to them. If you shoot them once, it's going to pop a hole and a fire is going to start. Once it's popped, you can kind of look at it as like it started a countdown, because if it's left alone, it's going to slowly drain and then it's eventually going to pop into a fire all over the floor as if it was like a Goyo canister, a Capital firebolt, or even a launcher from Tachanka. The other option with pipes would be to mag dump them, and it causes it to pop it faster to get fire everywhere quicker. You could use this if the round is coming to an end and you want to just spread it out to stop the push from a certain area, or if you saw multiple people in the same area and you didn't want to shoot them, you could theoretically have a chance to get a really funny kill by popping a pipe quickly and getting multiple kills. I feel this has potential to slow attacks down quite a bit because that pipe sequence can last for a pretty good amount of time. So just popping it once and leaving it to slow drain before the explosion is going to create a lot of different standoffs. New immersive rappel navigation is being added that's way more fluid, and it's an improved system from the one before. Better controls like running horizontally or even jumping.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there. Already, I do not know how I feel about this because I kind of see this as turning more into Call of Duty with the movement. I mean, I guess that is realistic. At least we don't have like slide canceling or something in the game. And I mean, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of it, but to be honest, like using the ropes and such in the game, the rappel, it always has felt very clunky to me. So I guess this will make it a bit more convenient because it really does suck when you're trying to use one and somebody, for example, runs out the building and just, picks you off because you can't even react really quick enough or do anything in that situation. You're kind of just stuck there. So, not the worst change, I suppose, um, to a certain extent, but I can see like this, for example, being very one-sided for the attackers in a lot of cases. Like for example, on this map, Bank, I believe it is. I can see that being very, very frustrating because if you're trying to shoot somebody outside at the window, they're just going to keep rotating very, very quickly and getting better angles on you. Well, you're kind of, at least in the building, if you're on the second floor, forced to be stationary for the most part, or just avoid that gunfight entirely. And already to begin with, I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the whole window fighting thing because I just find it very cheesy. And even in some cases, you won't be able to see people even sitting at a window. And in fact, I played a match yesterday. There was a guy sitting in the window, literally looking straight down the hallway. I couldn't even see him on my screen because of the angle he was on, but he could see me perfectly. Like that stuff is just very, very frustrating to deal with in general. And I don't know if I'm a big fan of increasing the options for attackers to do that, but I guess to a certain extent I can understand it as well, because the attackers are very limited at the same time. They're very vulnerable to being killed when they are on windows and such. So I guess this is fair enough. But when I first saw that and heard about it, I was starting to think like, oh, this is bad. Like this might turn into Call of Duty movement, which is just, at least in my opinion nowadays, just so terrible in the most recent games. I like the older games more, like World at War and Modern Warfare and such, where you weren't able to sprint around like some crazy madman and break your kneecaps. It just felt way more solid to me from a gameplay sense compared to what we have now. But I mean, this isn't overall that terrible, I guess. I suppose it makes sense. But yeah, let's continue.
Jumping around building corners makes navigating way less awkward, and honestly, it just feels so nice versus the slowed system that we have now. Want to check a window on bank that's on one side of the wall, and then 4 seconds later check the window that's completely on the other side of the wall? That's going to be no problem in CJ.
Yeah, he agrees with what I'm saying too. That's interesting.
One of the biggest updates with CJX is Dual Front. Dual Front is the new permanent 6v6 game mode that has an exclusive map and gameplay that mixes attackers and defenders on the same team. The main objective is to secure 3 enemy sectors while defending yours across a new map that was designed specifically for this Dual Front game mode. In Dual Front, you are going to start by picking from a curated roster of 35 operators. You are going to be able to mix and match defenders and attackers how you like, so you are going to be able to get really creative with this because we're going to be able to have ability interactions on the same team that we've never been able to do before. I see Dual Front as a great way to finally convince that friend to play Siege who's been refusing to play it for years because it looks way too hard. It's not as intimidating to join, and this game mode is very easy to get into, so it creates a much smaller step if they're going to be coming from other FPS games but they didn't want to bite off the chunk of just jumping into like Siege Standard or Ranked. They're not going to have to worry about getting yelled at for standing in the wrong spot. It's a way more approachable game mode for new and veteran players, but it also stays true to that like tactical gameplay that we expect from Siege. And Ubisoft did also mention that Dual Front is going to be available for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X or S. So you are going to need to have one of those systems in order to play it. They also said that Dual Front is set to receive regular updates from the selection of operators that are going to be rotating twice a season and dynamic objectives that are going to be changing each season as well. A total overhaul to Siege's audio is going to be coming with Siege X, and Ubisoft explains it to where it includes a rework of audio propagation and reverberation, which means the audio in Siege X will now sound even closer to...
I'm going to go back to that new game mode real quick before we continue with the audio issues. Oh boy. That game mode is going to be, I think, huge. That is going to be huge. I really think that's going to be something special if they can pull it off well. Because I'm going to be honest, the current way that Siege plays to me feels it's very stale, and it's not as fun to me as it should be. Because it's just kind of essentially, for the most part, one side hiding in corners and the other side trying to get into the site, of course. And I know a lot of people do say that the defending side is very one-sided in a lot of ways. It's very easy for them to win rounds. And from my experience as like a casual player, for the most part, when I do play the game, a lot of the time the defenders have the most success in the match. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they balance the game in a way, for example, where the attackers have much stronger weapons than the defenders do in a lot of ways. Obviously, this is not always the case. Like, the defenders do have shotguns and stuff, like the Boss G, which are notoriously overpowered. At least a lot of people would say that. So, and on top of that, they don't even have proper scopes for most of their weapons anymore. A lot of them have been taken away, like Jaeger, for example, losing his famous scope, the ACOG, and getting a speed reduction. That's actually when I stopped playing the game originally. I can't speak. I'm sorry, guys. So, yeah, having a game mode where you have attacking and defending at the same time, I think that's going to be huge. And mixing them together, I think it's going to be really, really well done. For the most part, the only issue I see with that is that they're going to have to put out maps way faster, because I think people are going to get really tired of playing the same thing over and over again. if they do not try and get it even more dynamic than that. But it is definitely a massive improvement over the current gameplay. I don't really see any other issues with it besides that they just have to put out a lot of maps and maybe make it more. I don't know about the operator selection. I can see that maybe being an issue. I don't know fully how that's going to work. I mean, I guess one side gets to pick certain ones, the other one gets to pick another certain one. They can't obviously have the same ones, I guess. But I can see that kind of maybe being one-sided in some ways. I'm sure, obviously, like they said there, they're going to do a lot of thinking and planning beforehand about who gets what. Because they're only going to be switching or rotating it out apparently twice a season. I think that's what he said. So that should be overall. I think that's a good change, and having more players in a match too. It's a good change. But yeah, let's continue now with the audio. Curious to see what he's going to say.
Real life to enable players to gather critical intel through audio cues and pinpoint locations even to the type of room where the enemy players are situated on. Them saying something like you're going to be able to tell the type of room the enemies are in is super interesting to me. I haven't tested it enough to make the call for myself, but to me that just sounds like maybe we'll be able to tell if people are in different types of rooms with different floors, such as tile versus wood. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm excited to do some more testing and figure out exactly how this new sound system is going to work. Some interesting quality of life changes are coming with a new communication wheel that's going to be released that allows us to communicate callouts non-verbally, such as maybe you need help or thanking other players, telling teammates that a room is cleared, or maybe you're watching a certain flank. You can call out where enemies are, and there's going to be a few other options. Siege communication obviously is very important, and that's why one of the reasons the best way to rank up is to simply play in a 5-stack. So I'm going to be curious to see if this bridges the gap a little bit and how this is going to be used in live games. New features like the pick and ban.
All right, so before we go on to the ranked stuff, I guess I'm not a ranked player, by the way, so just keep that in mind. I'm probably not going to have any sort of opinions on this whole system. I mean, I guess I can say something because obviously I've played other games ranked, like League of Legends or something. But I'm not going to dive into that too in depth. But first of all, with the audio, like this is something maybe a lot of newer players don't realize. I guess the younger generation. But for example, one of the major problems with currently Siege is there are some really weird audio bugs. And I know as of late, for example, there's it's been reported there's an audio bug even when you're planting the bomb or the diffuser, whatever. You can't actually hear it being planted. Like there's no audio cue, nothing. It's just dead silent. And I know I've actually had this happen to me quite a few games. I thought I was losing it because I didn't hear anything. But then my teammates are screaming at me, "Oh, they're planting. What are you doing?" And it's like on my end, I don't hear anything. It's just dead silent. But apparently that's actually a thing that's been more and more of an issue ever since they started making these changes already to the game. And they haven't even fully done it yet. And then there's another issue I noticed too, which is something that kind of shocked me. That's been reoccurring actually since um, the Vegas games. Vegas 1 and 2 both had this same audio bug, where, for example, you will have the sound of a gun firing if you die, on a mission or something, on an endless loop, so you can't hear anything. All you can hear is this gun going off and off and off forever, infinitely. And to me, that was kind of shocking that it's still in this game. Like it's in this game as well. The only way I'm aware of how to actually stop that bug is if you get one of your friends to go to a camera and you switch to that camera and they shoot it for you. The audio glitch will be ended right there. It'll go back to being normal. That's the only way to end the loop. At least there's a way to do it. But on the older games, you couldn't even do it at all. And of course, a lot of players don't know about that, I'm sure. So, I mean, they're just stuck playing around with this endless audio bug, which is very, very frustrating, of course, because the game is very heavily reliant on audio cues. And I'm kind of confused about that a little bit because to me, for the most part, you can kind of tell where people are walking, what room they're in. Of course, it's not always super crystal clear, I know Jinxie though, for example. I'm sure everybody knows who he is. If you're watching this video, seems to be very good at picking up on audio cues, like to a scary amount. Like there have been times where I've seen his content where he's saying, "Oh, somebody's to your left, somebody's to your right," um, making these callouts and predictions, and it's like I don't even hear anything, bro. I turn up the volume to max. I don't hear a damn thing, and this guy is saying there's somebody there. I don't understand it, honestly. It's kind of weird to me. And I've brought this up, of course, before with my nephews and such, and they've agreed like they don't hear anything either in these videos where he's doing that. Like I don't understand how he does it, but I guess he has a really good ears, really good game sense, I guess too. Obviously, very important, but I don't really think that's a big deal. I think that's already in the game. The different sounds from running in different areas. Maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe I've just thought that, but no, there definitely is dynamic sounds because I know for a fact when you're on the roof of a building, it sounds completely different when you're running compared to inside of a building. So, but maybe that's as far as it goes. Maybe they're right about that. So I guess that would be a good change, but I don't really know how much of a difference it's going to be. Like you can't make every room vastly different in sound. And if they do that, I think honestly that's going to be more problems than anything because imagine the amount of audio um, cues they're going to have to add into the game. They're going to have to make that way more complicated than it is. And already in this more simplistic variation of it, they have tons and tons of issues, right? Like they haven't even put it out yet, and there's already still audio issues in the game that they have never resolved. And this is not just like once again in this game, this is going back like to the Vegas games, right? I don't know about the way older Rainbow Six games, to be honest. I only played a couple of them, but not like very um, attentively. So I don't really know if that's an issue in those games. But yeah, this is the only game franchise I've ever seen that be a constant issue is that audio glitch. It's very frustrating. But enough of that. I guess we're going on to the rank stuff now. So yeah, I don't think this is going to be. I think there's going to be a lot of issues with this. I'm just calling it right now. That I don't see as a good thing necessarily.
And rework are going to make Siege feel even more different because in Siege X, each round you are going to have a pick and ban phase. There's not going to be one long drawn out phone phase of pick and banning, but instead if you're defending each round you are going to choose your site and then you're going to choose an operator on the opposite team to ban. This is going to repeat each round. So for example, if you want to just ban like a jackal when you defend upstairs but then a blitz when you're basement, you're going to be able to do that. Might seem like it's adding time, but it does feel pretty seamless, and I'm curious to see how it's going to play out to affect each site and site combos. Another plus is that if you have a favorite op that just continuously keeps getting banned, there is a chance that it's not going to be banned the entire game and you'll be able to play them later on. Siege is going to be getting a
Alright, so I guess I can kind of touch on that situation real quick. I think that's probably not a bad thing to increase how quickly you get rounds started. I don't think that's an issue at all. I know a lot of people were saying though that play ranked that that's something they don't want to happen, but already to me it feels like a lot of the time with Siege you're spending just waiting around for people to do something, right? Especially if you're the defenders, you're not really doing anything for the most part. A lot of people go AFK during that part of the game. Like they don't even put up walls half the time. So I don't see it necessarily a terrible change. I guess if you do it in between the rounds, but I can kind of understand why some people are against that. I think yeah, because before you had to ban everybody beforehand, so now you're only allowed to ban, I guess, one character per round, which is kind of, I guess it's kind of weird, but at the same time, I guess it gives you a little bit more flexibility to ban a specific play style if you're not doing very well against it. It gives you a bit of more hope to put up a better, struggle against a player who might be a one trick pony, for example, is what they call it. Somebody who's extremely um, professional with one specific operator or something, or like on League of Legends, like one of the characters. Somebody that just plays all of their hours playing as that one specific person. But of course, with Siege, I don't really think it's that big of a deal because it's not like League of Legends in that sense. Like, yeah, it's in the sense everyone has their own unique ability, yeah, just like League of Legends, but at the same time, it's like for the most part, everything is kind of the same. Like, yeah, you get this one little gimmick, and that's it. It's not really a massive difference, and of course, your gun or whatever, your weapons are going to be different, but that's really there is all to it. So I don't think it's going to be a horrible change. I guess I understand though why people are against that, because obviously if you're very you're doing extremely well with one character, the other team is just most likely going to ban your character. But you shouldn't be maining anyway in this game. But yeah, I can understand why some people would be upset about that. But to be fair, I know people say you shouldn't main also in League of Legends or really any game, because it's good to have game sense of all of the characters and the operators and all of that stuff, so you can play the game more efficiently and you actually understand what's happening, which makes sense, right? But at the end of the day, most of the time, there's always going to be those certain operators or characters, whatever you want to call them, heroes, um, that are just the meta, right? There's always going to be certain people that are just better than others. Like, that's just how the world is, and not everything can be perfectly balanced, right? So from that sense, I kind of get it, I guess, why people would be upset about that. But yeah, let's continue.
Weapon inspect feature, so you can finally flex on your friends with your newest Black Ice skin that they've been trying to get for the last.
I'm just going to put this out there right now. Black Ice is the most disgusting skin I've ever seen in my life. I do not understand why people like that thing. Anyways, continuing.
17 seasons, and I guarantee you that you're going to get sick of all of the different weapon inspect thumbnails that you are about to be flooded with this year from your favorite YouTubers. I'm gonna probably be doing some too. Updates to player protection are coming, where Ubisoft aims to offer the best, safest, and fairest gameplay experience. They said in Siege X they're increasing their efforts to combat cheating and toxicity, and launch.
I might just actually let this play, but this is the part of the video essentially where I started to have serious doubts about the game, and it largely has to do with the current gaming experience on literally every single game that I've played at this point. But I'll go more in depth on it after. I guess it's better I just let this play out.
Launching their most advanced anti-cheat initiative, R6 Shield Guard, that unifies all of their existing systems and introduces powerful new tools to safeguard the game. These features include live security updates that occur without the need for scheduled maintenance, which makes making cheats way more difficult. It has an updated reputation system that can impact access to certain playlists, such as if you hit dishonorable because you are just a menace to society, you might be timed out from ranked. This always reminds me of that Black Mirror episode where every human has that like social credit score, so it makes me pretty curious to see how it's going to play out. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, there also will be rewards such as player cards and skins for being an esteemed player, and we got a short glimpse at some of them here. Ubisoft is going to be working on all of that, and will still have ongoing development and new features while still doing updates to the existing features. Siege X is improving the experience of new players with a revamped onboarding journey that's designed to build skills and game into.
I don't know how to say this, but I'm I'm a bit skeptical about these systems that they're talking about. With the anti-cheat and all of that stuff. Like, the amount of times that I've seen in recent years, a popular video game will come out and say, "Oh, we're doing this with anti-cheat. We're doing that with anti-cheat. We're going to make it so much more difficult for cheaters to get into the game. It's going to be so hard for them to cheat." And then they make these changes, and the next week, the game is still infested with cheaters. Like, the best example of this has to be Call of Duty, of course. And I know some people have made conspiracy theories about that game. Like, for example, the developers of the game have created the cheats themselves just so that they can get extra revenue into the game by getting people, of course, to cheat, to buy the cheats after they make the cheats. And then from there, they ban those players. And, of course, they have to buy the game again if they want to play again. And then on top of that, go through all these other hurdles and messes. And then buy the cheats most likely again, I believe, because they patch them after, which they frankly don't. And I mean, of course, in Call of Duty is just such a rampant issue. I don't think I've ever actually seen a cheater on Fortnite. That is the only game in recent years that I actually see has a very stable anti-cheat, which is weird, but at the same time I don't play it enough to know whether or not somebody is cheating fully. I'm not experienced enough with that. I mean, of course you can tell a blatant cheater from someone who's trying to hide it. Like there's a huge massive difference between the two. But like even now in Siege, like I've only played it a very short period of time, and I see that there's in some lobbies there's very clear cheaters, and then there's others that try to hide it a bit more. Like, but that's just normal in every game, right? There's always going to be those that do cheat that just try to make it look like they're legitimately playing the game when it's just clear that they're not, or they'll just toggle, right? They'll just make it. They'll get flamed, and then they'll just be those types of people. So I mean, I think this new system, yeah, like they say on paper, it's going to be great. We're going to stop all the cheaters, but to me, it's just kind of like, I don't know, man. Like, if you can't stop them now, I get maybe putting in a new engine will perhaps remove the previous cheaters from the game temporarily until they develop something new. And I guess if they're constantly updating it, it can maybe cause incompatibility issues with whatever cheats they're using and such with the game. I can see that being a thing, and it would point it out more clearly in the system if they're constantly doing that, which is what I kind of understood from that. I'm not like a game developer, keep in mind, so I don't really understand this stuff fully, but I understand well enough to know that I'm just going to be skeptical every time they say that about a new game, because the amount of times that they've said this and nothing really changes is just mind-boggling. And of course, I should not just be relying on Call of Duty. I mean, this is in like every modern game now, for the most part. The cheaters are just rampant. Another good example would be Escape from Tarkov. I never actually played it, but I know cheating in that game is crazy. I know, for example, cheating in Rust is crazy. I know cheating in, for example, even Gears of War now is a thing, which is very disappointing because that game lasted a long time before I saw any cheaters on it. It's not as popular of a game, but yeah, I actually played a match recently, and it was the first time I've seen a cheater in years. It was the first game I've actually played. The first match, there was a cheater in the lobby, so that was great. But yeah, it's like every game nowadays that there's just blatant cheaters, and I'm skeptical of that. I do like the new system though, where you're actually rewarded for being a good player, but at the same time, I can kind of see that being toxic. But because there's always going to be those players that are going to flame you and such if they're playing with a group of friends, they're just going to if you're a solo player, say that you're terrible, you're whatever, give you a bad review. But I mean, it shouldn't be enough of a problem to the point where that's all the time. But yeah, I think that's definitely a better system because there's a lot of players in the community that are just extremely toxic, as there is on every game. There's always going to be stupid people, right? That are just going to sit there and be backseat gamers criticizing you like they're dead in the match already. They're the first person dead. They're bottom of the scoreboard, but yet they're going to sit there and criticize you like you don't know how to play the game. And it's like, if you're dead, just be quiet. The only thing you should be doing is giving out callouts, not telling other people how to play the game, because obviously you don't know how to play the game, right? And I think a large part of it is just being quiet, especially in Siege, because just screaming into the mic, at your teammates isn't going to do anything, right? It's just going to make the situation worse, and it's just showing that you don't know how to play the game, because obviously you don't know that there's audio cues in the game. But yeah, enough of that. Let's continue.
With tutorials and field training to get basics down before jumping into matches and getting yelled at for reinforcing the wrong wall. And like I did mention earlier, I feel like Dual Front is going to be a great gateway into Siege because it's not as punishing to play as something like real ranked matches where one mistake has so much on the line. It's not all just love for new players though, because exclusive rewards for veterans are also coming, such as something called the Coveted Ice 2015, the Decontaminated 2017 headgear, the Sleep Tight Cali skin, and more. I don't have full details.
I don't care about the skins. Like, once again, I think the skins are just a load of crap. I only actually buy the skins that are darker for tactical reasons. I don't like all this bright and shiny stuff, and I'm sure a lot of the players don't either. Because I see most commonly on the marketplace, a lot of the time that people are selling stuff, it's usually the most bright and obnoxiously disgusting skins that they currently throw at you, like the vomit skin that they seem to throw in every pack that I open nowadays. That's like yellow and brown, whatever the heck that thing is. That kind of looks like that helmet there that we just saw. I don't really see that appealing. I mean, yeah, like just go for the darker skins. But even like the black ice, like once again, I just think it's ugly. I don't understand why there's so much hype around it. Like I get sure it's hard to get in the game, but it's like I don't know, man. It just looks terrible to me. Like I've sold all of mine essentially at this point because I just don't like the look of it. But anyway, and on top of that, I just see that as an easy cash grab too for the game. I don't like these games where they're pushing this money grabbing system. Like, sure, I understand you want to keep the game alive as long as possible. Great, but to me, it's just I don't see it justified, man. Like a lot of the games nowadays, the skins, the DLC you can buy and such, it's like I think it's vastly overpriced. I can understand maybe like $2 here and there for a gun skin, or maybe even $1 I would go max. But when you have skins and such in the game, or even battle passes, I suppose, and things like that, where it gets excessively expensive, like even Fortnite, for example, I think it's a little bit ridiculous. Like there are skins on the game that are like $20 you can buy, I think, and that's like the price of a new video game, man. And imagine you're spending all of that just on a virtual skin. Like it doesn't really do anything else. It's just a cosmetic. To me, it just seems very wasteful. It just, I don't know. I would rather take that money and buy a brand new video game than getting a skin with it. But that's just me.
As far as how to
And especially because a lot of games are going to die inevitably, right? Like all of this stuff is just going to get thrown in the garbage can eventually. And because Siege is one of those games where it's online, there's really not really anything to gain, in my opinion, long term from doing that. It just seems wasteful. But whatever.
get these and how they'll be distributed, but I'm assuming it's going to take your account age and when you started playing into account. Then finally, Siege is going free to play. New play.
All right, all right, all right. This is actually like the only part of the video that stood out to me about all of the changes. I saw a lot of players, of course, recently on Steam. It was one of the top selling games, which did not shock me at all. And if I was somebody hearing about the massive upgrade to Siege and such, and all of the hype around it, I too would go and buy the game right ahead of time because I would think, oh, after they release this update to the game, because that's what it is. It's not really a new game, right? They're gonna jack the price up again. It's gonna go back up to $60. It's gonna go back up to $80, whatever Ubisoft wants to charge. And then I think that's the mindset a lot of players had, right? So they went out and they started purchasing the game while it was dirt cheap, which is like right now it's like $5 or whatever, or it was anyway. It's extremely dirt cheap, or 10, whatever it is. Thinking that once that update comes out, they're gonna jack the price up. So it's better just to do it now than to wait, right? But this is kind of a slap in the face. Like this is the equivalent of you going and buying a game full price, and then the next day they put it on sale. That's how I see this. Of course, it's not full price, right? Like they're not losing that much money, but I think that there's going to be a lot of problems with this model that they're going to throw in to the game right now. This was the biggest red flag to me, was when I heard that they were making it free to play. Because not only is it insulting to everybody that just bought the game again or whatever, because now essentially they've just thrown that money out the window. And unless they want to play ranked, because as far as I'm aware, that's the only reason you should buy the full game at this point. This is going to cause such a massive problem with cheating. That was the first thing that stood out to me when they said that, because you're opening the gates to so much nonsense. Exactly the same as Call of Duty did. Call of Duty went free to play with Warzone, right? And that's a lot of the issues right there with the game, where they had to put on cell phone verification and all this other stuff, so they could avoid cheaters getting into the game over and over and over again. And even still, it's a huge problem. Even with all of these steps that they took, it's a huge problem, right? Even to this day. Like I think now, yeah, like literally to play the new Call of Duty game, you have to have your cell phone verification. Otherwise, you're not even allowed to play it. That way, they can kind of keep track of who's a real player and who's not. But of course, I mean, it's very easy to get around that if you're a hacker, right? You just go and get another cell phone plan, dirt cheap somewhere, and what do you know? You have a new cell phone number. There you go. You can play the game again. It's not like a huge deal. I know that they also kind of put things into the game supposedly that could pick up on your software and such on your device and register that and pick up whether or not you were previously banned and like hardware ban you. And apparently, the only way to fix that would be to literally remove parts of your system, or even just replace your computer, for example, entirely. Which most likely, I think, would be the case that you would have to do. Realistically, that would make the most sense. Because I can tell you for a fact, I would most likely ban the motherboard. Right? I would go for some sort of software that detects the the motherboard type or whatever number, whatever system they have in place for that. Right? Because you get rid of the motherboard, essentially everything else is obsolete anyway, right? It's not like you can just replace the GPU or something with something else. Of course, they would have to buy another motherboard, but who's going to go out and keep forking over money for more and more motherboards just so they can cheat on a video game? Like, to me, it just seems stupid, but maybe there's people like that. I guess there is people like that, but yeah, this is the biggest red flag to me ever. I think that this is a terrible change. I do not think that they should do that because they're going to throw on this anti-cheat system, and then at the same time, they're going to allow literally everybody in the world to play the game. They're going to make it extremely popular, yes, to a lot of people that didn't previously own the game. But with that popularity comes new ways of destroying the game at the same time, right? Like, that's just bound to happen because you're going to be inviting new types of threats into the situation entirely. Like before, I think a lot of the cheating on Siege was restricted based off the fact that, of course, if you wanted to cheat on the game, you would have to buy the game all over again on a separate account. And even still, of course, that's profitable to them, right? But now you can essentially just make a new account without having to buy the game again, and you can play. And even going back to that system, like the new rating system for players, like it seems like you're more punished for having a bad rating on ranked than it is on like a casual match, which to me is kind of a problem because I'm a casual player. I don't play ranked. I think it's just bullshit. So from that point of view, yeah, I can kind of see that this is going to be a disaster. Like, I'm calling it right now. This is what stood out to me the most. I think Siege X is going to be a disaster just because of the free to play. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? And I know a lot of other people have pointed this out as well, that they don't see the changes for the game to be significant enough to warrant like all of this hype, which personally I kind of agree with. I don't think that they're making any massively drastic changes to the game for the most part. I mean, they're kind of trying to make it seem that way, but it's not really. I mean, when you look at it objectively, it's just kind of a better lighting system and better anti-cheat. And now you can shoot a fire extinguisher and it'll blind you. And one new map, right? Like, that's kind of the icing on the cake. And I guess, the rank stuff and all that other crap. But a lot of people are pissed off about that stuff already. But yeah, I don't think this is going to be as big as some people are hyping it up to be. And even now, like, my family is saying that this looks like crap. Like, my nephew was saying this morning, actually, this is kind of why I wanted to do this video. He agrees that this game looks like it's going to be a disaster, a fail now too. And I've seen that online as well. There are some people saying that. I don't think personally myself it's going to do very well. I think that this is going to open the door to so many problems, just the free to play aspect alone. But anyway, let's continue with that because I'm just ranting endlessly. And we haven't even listened to it yet.
Players that join after Year 10 Season 2 will have free access to 26 operators to choose from, and they will be able to play Standard, Quick Play, and Dual Front. Basically, they can do everything but ranked. Free-to-play players can also unlock more operators as they progress, and if they do decide to, they can upgrade to Premium that will allow you to unlock ranked once you hit level 50, and it would give you immediate access to more operators. The Elite Edition comes with 40 operators, and the Ultimate Edition would come with all operators to date. All of this is set for June 2025, where Siege will enter its new era with Siege X, and I couldn't be more excited about this. I'm curious to hear your thoughts though, so be sure to comment down below, let me know. That's about it though, so I will see you all very soon. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video.
All right, so you know my thoughts on it. I'm curious now. What are the thoughts of the community here? So let's read some comments because I'm done ranting. Those pipes are about to be so annoying. You know, I would agree with this, except for the fact that you can actually speed up how quickly they explode. So to me, that's kind of fine. I don't think that's going to be a big issue, personally. I can see that being annoying if you're trying to push into an area, and of course somebody freaking shoots that thing and you have to sit there for 5 minutes or whatever before it stops the flames flying out of it. But because that's not the case, I don't think it's as big of a deal as it is. But of course, it still kind of limits what you can do. So I think this is kind of maybe a bad change, but at the same time, it's not bad enough to ruin the game, right? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50 on that one. Like the other stuff that you can destroy, like the fire extinguisher, sure. The metal detectors, sure, that's great. But yeah, I don't know about the flames and shit, bro. Oh yeah, here we go. As a plumber, the pipes mechanic frustrates me, not because I think it's a bad mechanic, but because there isn't going to be gas mains running up inside walls of buildings. Yeah, like to me too, that just seems a little bit weird. And another thing I noticed too, just going off topic a bit here. I know some people have pointed out as well that this is very frustrating for them. I kind of agree with this. Like people want there to be a change to the way that damage is done. Like for example, headshots. I do not want to start shooting somebody in the game, right? And they turn and they flick on me, and I'm out of the game because they get a headshot. To me, that's very frustrating. I think they should make it at least 2 to completely eliminate you from the game, rather than just the 1 right now. Because it's just I don't know. I find very often I will be winning a gunfight and they just get that one lucky bullet, and it's over. It's very frustrating. Like not even like multiple shots, it's just one. And this happens all of the time. And yeah, I know a lot of people are just going to say, oh, well, aim higher, whatever nonsense that they like to say, because to me, I think that's just silly. But, it's just, I don't know. I think that's something that they should make a massive change to, is how the damage is done. At least headshot damage. Like, I think if you hit a specific part, sure, it should count, but a lot of the time I find the hit registration. It's like people are getting headshots on me and they're not even shooting at my head. Like they're not even aiming at it, and they still manage to get that. And it's just nuts to me. I don't enjoy it. But yeah, I agree with that. Like these guys, I guess, to an extent. Yeah, and I mean, look at that. Like they brought back the more dark looking graphics, the lighting. Gotta shoot cams now. I gotta shoot fire extinguishers. Yeah. See, this is something they have to bring back. Terrace Hunt. I know a lot of people, like I was saying earlier, they really, really enjoyed it. Me personally, I used to play it religiously on the older games, the Vegas games. For years, I would come home from work and I would just sit down in front of the TV, turn on some T-Hunt, and play that until I went to sleep for the next day. And that was my main source of entertainment at the time, because I would get home extremely late, so the day was already pretty much over by the time I got home, and I was exhausted. So that was one of my favorite pastimes. But they removed it. They removed it from this game now completely, which to me is just nonsense. I'm curious what other people are saying. Extraction. Oh, I don't want to buy another game though. I didn't know that's how it worked, but okay. Yeah, they need to do that. They need to fix the rank system. The fact that a top 3000 champ and diamond players can boost his bronze friends and slam a platinum lobby is so unbelievably unfair. I know a lot of people have been complaining about that too. Like even my nephew, he plays ranked, and he complains that the way that ranked works right now, it's incredibly one-sided. Like they put like a full team of the best players together essentially on one side, and then they put lower tier players on his side. And I think this is a problem for the most part in most ranked games. I think it's just because of the way the matchmaking is done. They're just kind of trying to throw together as many people as possible as quickly as possible. Because obviously, if they have a system where it's too in depth, nobody's going to be getting into lobbies, especially if it's like categorized based off a specific level that you can get into that lobby. But I understand why a lot of people are like, I don't enjoy this. Like it's so one-sided, it's unfair. The only thing that disappointed me was that there were no improvements to the ranked or matching system. It won't matter how amazing the new content is if the ranked system is still terrible. See, I'm not a big ranked player, so I don't really care about these things. Like to me, it's just like whatever. The lighting looks so much better. However, not having all maps modernized is a joke, in my opinion, on release. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. That is a solid point. You would think it wouldn't take that much effort to really just do that off the bat. But instead of like giving a full game experience, like they're kind of hyping it up to be, like you're not even getting all of the maps off the bat. You have to wait for them all to be updated, which to me is just it's a joke. That is spot on. I should like some of these comments, honestly. I'm worried the new additions in the maps will help the already defender-sided advantage. See, like that's what I mean. Like some people have pointed this out. Like they think the game is very one-sided for at least the defenders in a lot of aspects because they have done some things that have nerfed the attackers' abilities. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if I really. I would say yeah, the defenders have been nerfed more than anything, but I think it's because of the fact that they already have a massive advantage to them to begin with. Like, I mean, you start off in a building, you can reinforce the walls so they can't be destroyed, you can sit in corners, you can literally just camp and wait. You don't have to make noise, you don't have to move. You have cameras placed around the entire building, you don't have to drone. You can even get additional cameras that you can throw around in specific spots that you want to allow you to camp even better. The only downside, of course, is that the weapons that the defenders have just aren't as good as the attacking side. But of course, that's not to say all of them are like that. There obviously are some really busted guns that defenders have available to them, but for the most part, yeah, like that's just the case. Like for example, like a DMR weapon. There's only 2 characters on the defending side that actually have anything like that, and I know because I wanted something that would be able to pack a punch at long distances in the game. I was looking into that, and I found out, oh, Aruni has one, a long range weapon. So I was like, all right, I'll go with her. She's actually my favorite defending operator, just because she can actually take fights at a distance rather than being forced to like sit in someone's face. Because I don't like that. I don't like losing fights because my weapon's literally a pea shooter when I'm defending. Of course, I can go and use the shotgun like a lot of people use because it's like a one tap at close range. But I don't know. I don't like shotguns. I've never liked them in any game, honestly. I feel like this should have been released like 5 years ago. Yeah, like this is not. I don't think this is like a massive change to the game, honestly. Like I already pointed that out. To me, it's just the hype is a little bit excessive. It really looks like a polished version of the old Siege from 4 to 5 years ago. Ubisoft might actually have done something really good this time. Oh boy. Da, 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 da. I won't be playing, at least. The community will have something to enjoy. Don't put so much expectations on Ubisoft. Yeah, they always disappoint. I mean, that's another thing too, right? It's Ubisoft. Like, as of late, I know they are literally bleeding money. The situation with them is really, really bad, and apparently Siege is their last attempt as a company for the most part to even stay afloat. Like it's their major money maker. So I understand why they would hype it up to the point that they are and trying to implement all of these changes to get more and more revenue coming in. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Some of the stuff like free Goyo canister, for the most part, I like everything, or I'm ready to give it a chance. I was scared about this update, but honestly, it looks pretty good overall. Yeah, like I agree. Like it's slight changes to the game that I would agree with for the most part are better, but then there are some really massive changes that are to me kind of concerning, like the audio. Like I went into, like I think if you already have a more simplistic audio system now, and then there's problems with it now, you're telling me you're going to go and update it and add even more audio cues to the game. I don't know how that's going to work. To me, that's just kind of a massive red flag. I think it's just going to bring more problems into the game. Honestly, I think they should have just fixed the current system with the audio, not try and improve it, not try to add more depth to it, just leave it the way it is. Just fix the bugs, like for example the endlessly looping gun sounds that have been in the game since Vegas 1, right? And not make the game free to play. Like, to me, that's just, I understand why they're doing it, because obviously that's the model a lot of games have gone, and they want to get in as many players as possible because they're just looking for money at this point. But to me, that's also a red flag, right? Like, they're pushing more, it seems to me, money than actual gameplay. Like, they're pushing more that angle than actually trying to make the game better. Because a lot of the changes here, let's be honest, like, they're not that massively different from what we have now. The lighting looks odd in some of the clips. I'm not sure if I'm used to it or not. It was just early changes when they made some of those clips. All right. Like the new operator ban system, looks like we've been doing more than banning Duke Fenrir in the last one being anything. EMPs. I would like to see if EMPs have more effect now. Being able to make a room dark for a little would be kind of cool. See, I know some people have said that too. They want to have the ability to turn off the lights in certain buildings and such on the maps. I think that would be a really nice change, but I don't know how you would go about doing that. I mean, I know apparently they said they were supposedly going to do that. Some people have been speculating that that's something they're kind of hiding, but I don't know how that would work. Like, what do you do to turn the lights back on if you need to? And are they going to add like night vision goggles to the game? Like, how is that going to work? To me, I can kind of see that being an issue, but it would, of course, not be something impossible to resolve. But it would be interesting to see. It would add more depth to the game. Instead of one long drawn out ban phase, now we get one every round. Yeah, but I mean the difference is, I guess, is that you have to do it in between the match. So after you choose your character and all that stuff, like, it's gonna be still a slimmer time frame, right? I would assume that's how it works. And if you don't pick, I guess, I don't know, you don't pick. It just it's still gonna be faster, I would think. Yeah, see, straight up didn't watch the video. Horrendous change. The ban change is actually terrible. If I do well in a single map, enemies can take that op out of the very next round. That's stupid. Yeah, see, that's what I was saying too. Like, I can understand why people are against that system, because it's gonna kind of give one trick ponies a very, very hard time. Because it's like, okay, I'm amazing with this character. This guy's destroying us, or for example, this guy's destroying us with this character, right? We're not going to let him play that character anymore. So next round, goodbye. You're not using him again. Like, I think it's going to limit the things you can do a lot more. But yeah, like the strategies, it's going to limit it more. Of course, you're going to have to switch it up, which I guess is fair enough. You should be doing, but I can see that being annoying. Because a lot of players, I think, typically do tend to go for the same operators in a round, at least throughout the match. They only kind of switch if things are going really bad, for the most part. You can still choose wrong, but now voting will matter because players won't be AFK for it. Yeah. Because yeah, I think a lot of games, when you get to that point where you're just banning stuff, it takes too much time. Like, even League of Legends, it's just too much sitting around, and already Siege is kind of like that. A lot of the time you're just sitting around. I don't think it's going to be that bad of a change, but I can understand why people are against it. But then again, I don't play ranked, right? So I don't really care about it as much, but I can understand why some people are upset about that, or would be upset about that. New game modes remind me a lot of the old games. Vegas Gang, Rise Up. I do not see it like that at all. I'm going to be honest, I do not. I mean, the older games definitely had a darker lighting scheme compared to the one that we currently have, the Siege that we currently have. I guess we're getting the new upgraded version, though. But yeah, there's still no terrorist hunt. There's still no campaign. And we can't sit on walls, for example, and look around the corner. We can't see our character in third person. Like, I don't see how you can make the comparison like that. This is like the older games. It's just not. Maybe like the really, really old games, but not the Vegas games. I don't agree with that guy. I'm an OG R6 player. I don't know how to feel for this one, man. Yeah, like I had the game almost since launch. I think I got it pretty early on, but yeah, I know. I didn't play it that much. I only played it maybe for an hour, and then I kind of stopped, and then I was on and off every once in a while. But at the time, I also had a really bad computer, so like once again, I'm speaking from that point of view. For people that have lower end systems, I can see why this would be an issue for them. Because already, like for example, my brother on the PlayStation console, he's having issues, and they haven't even done anything massive yet. They just took out DX11, and he's having massive overheating problems. And of course, again, you can just say that's a PlayStation issue. I mean, they're all like that. I mean, my PlayStation 3, for example, has that issue, right? Even though I fixed it a while ago. That's just a Sony thing, but at the same time, it sucks, man. Like if you're making it harder for the hardware to run something, then you're just asking for more problems. Those things are for defenders, but what am I reading here? Oh, whatever. Hopefully it will be good. The bans are cooked. Cannot wait to see Cade plus Bandit and Thermite Ace plus Thatcher bans every set. Um, yeah, I don't know exactly what they mean by that. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Whatever. Biggest L. Knew it wasn't much, but really ranked. Ranked has been the worst change ever. And for the sound overhaul, I don't agree. Like I'm saying right now, I think that there's going to be tons of issues with that because if they can't even perfect the system they have now, and they're going to make it more in depth, I think it's just going to be more problems. Honestly, I'm still pissed about the quick match changes. No night maps, disappointing. I think they're still going to add night maps. I do kind of miss them. I'm not going to lie, but I understand why a lot of players wanted them out because apparently too it was this. I remember Jinxie. I saw a video of him explaining why they took them out. They took them out because apparently they had to have a daylight version of the map and they had to have a night version of the map, right? So it was just taking up excessive space for the game, and they wanted to limit it, so it wouldn't be too heavy on how much space it would take up on consoles or whatever, or computers. So they removed them for that reason. The lighting reminds me of Old Siege. First trailer still looks better. Yeah, I honestly agree. I think the trailer from the original, not the original, but you know what I mean. The very first trailer for Siege was definitely, it looked better than what we have now. Like even the gameplay looked better than what we have now. Like there was more destruction. It honestly reminds me more of Battlefield than anything. When I first saw it, that was my impression. I was like, oh cool, we're gonna get Siege, but it's gonna be more tactical. It's gonna be more realistic. Um, there's gonna be more options. All these things. And then they just kind of downgraded the game with time. I know a lot of people have said, like they just very massively stripped away a lot of features, and now it's like, oh, yeah, we took all these features away, guys. Now we're gonna add them back, like 10 years later or whatever. Siege X before GTA is crazy. Click the video thinking 12 minutes. Fan of any of this except the repel system. That's cool. Yeah, like me, I kind of understand it. When I first saw that, I was like, oh great, it's gonna turn more into Call of Duty now. But yeah, like the current system is very clunky. Like if you get caught on those things, you're just kind of screwed. If you're an attacker and the defenders rush out at you, you're just done for. Because a lot of the time you can't even react the way that the thing works. But at the same time too, it's like a lot of maps too. It's very busted already, right? Like there's a lot of nonsense you can get away with by using that system, and now they're just making it way easier to get away with that. So to me, it's just kind of like, ugh, I don't know. I'm kind of iffy about that one. Like I get why they made that change, but I don't know. Playing just to endure the absolute hell that ranked is crazy work. So I think that's pretty much all of the good comments there, because it seems like we're just going through the repeats of the same ones. If I only played a few matches in Operations Health? Operation Health? Isn't it Heath or something? I don't remember. Will I get veteran rewards? It's whenever your account was made, not how much you played. Alright, let's see what this guy says. Alright, so, hello, I play on PlayStation 4, and I'm concerned because I don't understand if I will be able to continue playing Siege normally. The update is only for next-gen consoles. Get a PS5. PS4 and Xbox One are 12 years old. It's time to let your PS4 into the heavenly console heaven above and get a new gen. See, this is the problem. This is what I'm talking about, right? There's a lot of people that they are literally throwing in the garbage can by doing this. Like, yeah, they're opening the door up to tons and tons of more people that don't want to actually fork over money for the game because they're making it free to play. But at the same time, people with older hardware, like myself, for many years, who really can relate to this, they're kind of telling them to screw off. Like, and I don't like this mentality that people have. Like, oh, just upgrade your console, bro. Just buy another system, bro, just so you can play this game. Yeah, like spend potentially thousands of dollars just so you can get a free game. Like, to me, it's just it's excessive. It's just capitalism right there. Like, everybody can do that, right? There's a lot of people that are living paycheck to paycheck right now in this economy. Good example. You know what? I'm gonna make a video about that later. I'm not gonna go too in depth about that right now. But long story short, I just sold a Tamagotchi for $10. That was supposedly super rare. Now a lot of people will be like, "Oh, you're crazy. You're whatever." But I was looking at the market and all of that stuff for these things. Like, yeah, people are. I think they're overvaluing them. Like, if you were to ask me personally, would I spend $100 nowadays on Tamagotchi? I'd be like, no. Why would I do that? There's so many better things I can spend my money on than a Tamagotchi, a little plastic device you have to feed and take care of every single day. Like, who realistically is going to do that in this economy, right? Most people are not going to want to. But yeah, I sold it for dirt cheap because to me it's like whatever. And I see like you can buy new ones for like $40, or even online on Marketplace you can get them for $25. Of course, they're not the same as the old vintage ones, of course, but to me, it's like, is there really that much of a difference? But whatever. Skilled for everything except free to play. Yeah. Oh, psyched. My bad. Except free to play part. Usually, when a game goes free to play, it fails. That's what I'm saying, man. That is literally what I'm saying. I think the free to play was the biggest red flag of the whole video. Like, they're adding in a new anti cheat system, and then at the same time, they're making the game free to play. Like, to me, that is just, ooh. Although I don't agree, yeah, with the fail part, because technically free to play, that would apply to Fortnite, and that's one of the biggest games of all time, and it's free to play. I mean, of course, if you want to get a bunch of skins and stuff, you have to spend like $20, but that's just, it's not essential to play the game. Is there a single source of this example to back it up? Counter-Strike. Yeah, I'm scared of cheaters. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm more worried about the cheaters. Yeah, more cheaters incoming. They will just get another account banned. Bot accounts will be farming packs and vote kicking players from players' games. Probably can't wait. I don't know about the vote. I guess can you vote kick? I honestly don't remember. I know you can surrender. I don't know about vote kicking though. I was really hoping the lights would be shot, but shot, yeah. Combat toxicity, aka reduce freedom of speech. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of all of this stuff too. Like, I don't like the limitations of communication in more recent games. For real, remove freedom of speech and add an opinion system. Oh, I didn't even comment about that. I think that's going to be a good change, though. I think for a lot of players, I don't like using their microphones or even talking. Like myself, I do not enjoy talking to my teammates. I'd rather have that system in place. But even the yellow ping, I know a lot of people are they're upset with yellow pings being in the game because they say they're too overpowered, which I can kind of understand. Like, it's just kind of weird. Like, you have the red ping and then you have the yellow ping. It's like, why would you even bother using the red ping? Because it just gives away that there's a camera in the room, right? And you can just do the same thing with the yellow ping and it's undetectable. So I can understand why. Like, to me, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why have one and the other together? Because for the most part, nobody's using the red one now. It's just a useless mechanic. But at the same time, I mean, like, if someone's looking at you on a camera, what are the chances that you know they're looking at you on a camera? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like something you would know in real life. It's not like you're gonna get an indicator pop up in front of your face. Oh, somebody saw you on a camera. Like it doesn't make any sense. Are they reverting quick play to how it was when it was good? Plays like the old Rainbow games. The new 6v6 looks like it will fit that hole. Yeah, I think the new game mode's going to be a really good system. I think that's probably the best thing about the update. The only thing is they really need to be pumping out maps for that, because only one starting map to me is just crazy. Like, I mean, I don't know if that applies to all of the other maps you can do the same thing on, but from what I understood from the video, it's just one map as of now. So, yeah, not good. I don't know what all these YouTube recommendations are here. I know Thunderfoot though, but yeah, I don't think it's going to revive Siege. I think it'll gain more popularity for a bit, but I mean, it's already a pretty popular game. I think it's been going up in time. Ubisoft really wants to be bankrupt. Ubisoft, sorry. Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people have been saying, like, this is their last attempt, Ubisoft, at trying to stay afloat. Like, this is their main breadwinner right now, because all of their games in recent years have completely flopped. Like the Assassin's Creed drama, all of that stuff. Like, it's kind of painful to see, because I was one of the first people to not one of the first people, but I played the original Assassin's Creed games. I owned them when I was a kid, like when they first came out. And to see how the games have evolved from then to now is just kind of crazy to me, because when I was a kid, those games were like massive. Like, that was something special at the time. And now it's just kind of been turned around into a joke. The entire thing looks like classical Siege. I was skeptical, but now I'm hyped. Oh boy. For more realism, they need to have operators make a sniffing sound if they camping in a spot for too long. Oh, that's kind of funny. Love the Siege feel. OH Siege feel? I don't understand. Player outlines is honestly a massive L. Siege the entirety of COVID. Sequel for the series. Siege having a new era as well. Can't play this. Going back to the beginning. I don't even know. Yeah. Looks like a downgrade to me. What is he talking about? The graphics, I'm assuming?
Comparison. When
Yeah, let me see that again. I didn't actually get a good look at that before. So, what am I looking at here? I'm assuming the left one. Yeah, the left one is the current one. And then this is the updated one. I can tell because the top is different. They changed the coloring scheme. So, yeah, I mean, really, things are just slightly less bright, and I guess it's more realistic the way the light is going. But overall, I wouldn't say it's a massive change. I kind of understand that. You know what? I'm just gonna end the video there. I think I've done enough ranting. Like, this is turning into something else entirely. And for the most part, I've gone through the majority of the comments that address any concerns that people are having, because, you know, of course, those are going to be the ones at the top, right? So, without further ado, I'm going to end this video right now. Goodbye.